Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 7/9 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Maximum initial battery voltage measured without a work load is 20 volts. Nominal voltage is 18.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
On a chilly November night in 1987, viewers in Chicago sat down for what they thought would be a normal evening of local news and sci-fi reruns. But what they got instead was something far stranger. A sudden flicker, a buzz of static, and then him. A man in a rubbery mask, bobbing and weaving before a swaying metal backdrop, his distorted voice crackling through the airwaves like a ghost in the machine. The hijacker's messages were bizarre, disjointed, and vaguely menacing, mocking television stations, corporations, and perhaps the very nature of mass media itself. For 90 seconds, the intruder took over WTTW's broadcast of Doctor Who, turning public television into a surreal and unsettling performance art piece, or a warning. This case file, tune in as we sift through the static and rewind the weird in the Max Headroom Signal Hijacking.
Welcome to Alien Theorists, Theorizing, Case File 362. I'm Braden.
I'm Max Headroom.
I'm Dan.
I'm Max Headroom.
I am Max Headroom.
We're all Max Headroom.
Yeah.
Are we even real?
Honestly, we're getting to that point now. It's getting.
We can almost clone ourselves and just have AI podcast for us.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's argument for Max Headroom being like the first AI personality. It's almost like he's like VTubers before there were VTubers for me. And I, full disclosure, before the show, we were talking about it. Zell and Braden did not remember Max Headroom at all.
Did not ring a bell when Dan's like, let's do the Max Headroom signal intrusion. I was like,
if I really wanted to, I probably could have played it as some kind of Mandela thing that we just made up. Like they probably would have believed me.
I would have.
It is Max Headroom was a like a bit of an icon. Like the things I remember, it's a little bit before my time because Max Headroom, the character,
80s.
Is definitely 80s. It's like mid 80s. Like so like I still would have been.
Dude, and the best part about the 80s, there's no record of anything from the 80s.
Yeah, unless you got a VHS
Lost
player.
in time,
like,
right?
Unless you got a VHS player, and then it's like, or Betamax,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
just stuff that's been ripped to the internet, but nothing was done live. People just like take a photo of a video, upload it to YouTube or something.
I think, we'll talk about that. And the thing, because we're not just talking about Max Headroom, we're talking about the Max Headroom signal hijacking classic conspiracy, which is a very, To me, it's like it's a pretty interesting case. Like you think it's just a little one-off kind of thing, but it gets a little bit more involved, is what I think.
And was TV in the 80s still like people were using a lot of rabbit ears? Still,
it was
right?
broadcast TV,
right? So then that's how you could hijack the signal, because like
Right.
I imagine it would be quite difficult to like hijack the signal now.
You had broadcast TV, which is, yes, you had the antennas and everything.
Yeah.
And then along comes cable TV, which cable TV is essentially, it's like there's one antenna, one dish, and then they run cables from that dish to TVs, your box. Hence
That's how it
cable
works?
TV, pretty much, yeah.
Are you fucking get the fuck out of here? That's how that works?
There's a central
somewhere
dish
there's
and
a
they split
super
it.
dish?
Yeah.
Anywhere, somewhere?
Well,
Yeah.
there's not just one
Not
super
like one,
dish.
but
There's
like,
dishes everywhere.
Yeah.
That then they just run
but
a cable
then they would
off.
run a cable
I had
from
no
there.
idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that's how that worked. I honestly, I never even thought where the other end of the cable went to. I just came in my house, plug it in, and there it is. I had no idea. I thought the TV was in the cable.
Dude, and all that stuff, like that wireless transmission, like radio waves and all that. If you have a more powerful signal and you can tune in the same frequency, you can just push that one out of the way.
If you
That's
have a more powerful signal, yeah.
If you got more power, that's what people used to like take over radio stations and
Pirate
stuff.
radio. Yeah.
Because you could push your own frequency, and if you had a powerful enough antenna, you could just set up your own radio station until you got busted.
Yeah. Yeah, Max Headroom, aside from that, going back to Max Headroom, is a strange character, and probably people remember him as the stuttering, the stuttering high contrast, very much. If you look at it now, you're like, oh, that would, if I probably showed you a video of Max Headroom, you've never seen him before, you're like, oh, that's AI generated, but it's not. He's like a real guy.
That does have that look.
He's made to be like look like the first like computer generated character. That's kind of what he looks like.
He was portrayed by Matt Frewer, who was a Canadian American actor. And
I like how you put the Canadian first in that.
Yeah.
And they put up like a bunch of like, when you look at him, it's like they put on a lot of like prosthetic makeup on him to make him look very, very artificial, very flat, kind of like this. Max Headroom was a TV series, like in the UK in like 1985 was when it came out. I guess it's kind of it strikes a lot of like notes for today. It is credited pretty much as like a dystopian, or described as like a dystopian kind of cyberpunk genre, and might like probably a lot of influences. Those of you who haven't, if you're Googling Max Headroom right now and you like watch some of it, you're like, oh, like, well, this influenced a whole bunch of that genre of like media.
He kind of looks like Johnny Bravo a little bit.
Little bit. Yeah. A little
Got
bit.
a little Johnny Bravo look to him.
And he was always meant, I think he was always meant to be like just this kind of pastiche. Again, he's like, his whole thing was kind of like a satire on consumerism and things like this, which would be ironic because probably most people remember Max Headroom as the people a little bit older than me probably remember him as the spokesperson for the new Coke.
Really?
Yeah.
So Max Headroom almost single-handedly ruined Coke.
He sold out. He sold out.
Max Headroom was the reason that New Coke failed. Yes. But his whole, the whole slogan.
Well, I mean, that's on brand. That's on brand by everything, right? It's like he's like, yeah, I'll sign up, and then he helps crash
Tanks it.
Yeah.
Tanks New Coke.
And his origin is very something that we would, we're kind of spookily getting into now, where it's like he was originally like a journalist. Edison Carter was his name, and then in the TV show, his origin is that he ends up, I guess, like crashing after being pursued by some goons or corporate goons or something, and he crashes, and his
Princess
consciousness,
Diana style.
yeah, and his consciousness is uploaded into a computer, and then becomes Max Headroom, because that's the last thing that he saw when he died, because it was it going into a parking garage. It was like Max Headroom.
2.4 meters.
But yeah, it's like that's what he was always supposed to do. So it's always strange that it started out as this kind of cyberpunk critique on the world, where his world is very much like RoboCop. That thing, corporate-owned TV networks, surveillance, media brainwashing, all that kind of crazy stuff. And then he would become the spokesperson for New Coke. It's like, wow.
Who's in that boardroom at Coke? Be like, you know what we should do? It's Max Headroom.
Max
character.
Headroom.
Of all the athletes of everyone. Right? He's our guy.
But he would, I guess he would become pretty much like household name. And then that kind of brings us to 19. So that was like 19. The New Coke was like 85. And the Max Headroom hijacking events, because there's two of them, would be 1987. So about 2 years after. So people knew who Max Headroom was. I think he was a popular character.
I didn't realize Jeffrey Tambor was in it. In the show.
Oh.
He was a...
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I guess,
no, I'm looking at the character list and I was like, oh, he's like, I don't know who Matt Fuhrer is, but I know who Jeffrey Tambor is.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some names in there that like, yeah, but it was only on for like 2 years. Like it wasn't a long running. Yeah, it was 2 seasons. It's not even a long running show. And it got picked up eventually, just learning a little bit more history about background of Max Headroom, is that it kind of, in the UK, it kind of fizzled out. Then the US picked it up, and then he became, I think I kind of remember him from like cable, like music TV shows. And like he would introduce music videos or interviews or stuff like that. Yeah.
All right.
So then you would know.
I kind of thought it was like an MTV, like Much Music character when I first saw it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. Cause I was like, I kind of got some weird, like memories, like very
you
weird
probably
memories
saw
of when
him
I was a
like
kid.
He was a prominent figure on MTV in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then I would watch like as a kid, because I grew up watching like MTV music videos and shit in the summers. I probably saw clips of him. It was usually
Much Music for us though.
Yeah, but they would play MTV every now and then if you watched all day in the summer.
I guess so. Different companies though.
So you definitely showed up.
They would play like the MTV shows, like the MTV.
Oh, like their reality shows and stuff?
Yeah, like so it would play on Much Music.
Right.
So they're probably like some sort of syndication or something. So that's why I would see that.
Now, Much Music just plays reality shows.
Yeah.
No
Jersey
music.
Shore.
There's no music anymore.
Jersey Shores all day, 24/7.
I don't know how that channel still survives.
I don't know how those fucking people are still doing that show.
Isn't MTV split into like 5 different channels now? And it's like 24/7 Jersey Shore.
Those guys, when they did that original season, were like pushing 40. Like they were old. They weren't teenagers.
60.
And now they're like fucking 50s. And they're like still like, let's go to the club.
Yeah, didn't they do like a return?
You're like,
didn't they
what
do a
the
return?
fuck?
No, didn't they follow? They followed up with
they had a bunch of
Snooki
spin-offs,
and
didn't they?
JWoww, I think. Like they felt like
now they're just back to
later.
doing Jersey Shore again. The show's back on. Same cast. Same cast.
So what we got to do then is we got to change our show a little bit for a while and then come back with ATT.
Change the formula and then you
20
just
years
flip
later.
back. Yeah. New ATT. And then we come back with classic ATT.
Classic ATT, come back again.
Yeah.
What's new ATT fails?
This is a 10-year plan we're working on.
Yeah, we're in the long game.
We need to do it long enough so then our kids can just take the show over.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to keep it going long enough.
So
I've already fucking bred all your replacements. So
right.
I'm just saying.
Clowns.
He's got the full show.
I got the full show here.
It'll be the 3 Renner boys and a Gundam Wing AI generated character. That's what we'll have.
So
Welcome, Renners.
Finish uploading my consciousness to my AI Gundam avatar.
Finally, we'll have Zordan.
So November 22nd, 1987, WGN TV, Channel 9 in Chicago.
No, Dan, say it in your best radio voice.
WGN TV, Channel 9, Chicago.
There it is. I knew you had it.
At the time, a segment was being read by sportcaster Dan Roan, and he was covering the highlights. And I wish Andrew was here about the Bears beating the Detroit Lions.
Terrible score too.
So,
Probably smoked them.
I'm sure he's like, well, this happens all the time. It's not really news. So I mean,
basically any time in history other than like the last year and a half, like a team beating the Lions is not anything.
I'm sure Andrew would have a bunch of
the Lions were good in the 80s. Actually,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish Andrew was here and he'd probably light us up with some Detroit Lions hard facts here. But at 9:14, Dan Roan disappeared. The channel took off, gone, blank screen, and just black screen. And then about 15 seconds later, a new figure took over, and this person was described as being dressed in a rubber mask, which was recognizable as as Max Headroom. He's wearing it with sunglasses on, and he was just kind of sitting there silently, which at this point it's like there was no sound at the during this broadcast, but he was kind of just bobbed in front of there, and then there was this spinning background behind him, just this kind of like gray corrugated just background kind of spinning back and forth, like very disorienting, but if you imagine watching it. But there is just this grating, buzzing noise that played, but that was the only sound coming from the broadcast. So after 30 seconds of that, the signal engineers at WGN switched frequencies, which because of something that they could do. They switched to a backup frequency on another transmitter, which would bring the news and Dan Roan back to the screen. So nobody really knew what was going on, but you had people on hand to be like, what the hell's going on? This is not us. And then flick the switch.
Someone had pushed, like we're talking about, someone must have pushed like a higher frequency. They got in there and overtook the antenna.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, for me, like when I'm thinking this in my head, this would be, to me, it's really impressive that this happened in Chicago, because it's like, this is like Chicago's a big city, so this station obviously would have a power enough, like a probably
big fucking dish,
big dish, big signal. You know what I mean? And like this isn't Butthole, Iowa. You know. So it's like it's not like, so whoever's doing this had to have.
Apologies for people who live in Butthole, Iowa.
Right?
No apologies.
Yeah, I've never liked Butthole, Iowa. People are going to look up if there's this town called Butthole, Iowa. And it's all the towns. That's the I'm kidding. But the interesting is, so you would have to have seemingly in like the early, like someone would have to have something that was more powerful than what this TV station had.
Right. More powerful, or someone's got on the inside.
Oh,
exactly.
Only two ways.
And that was the first assumption, is that the studio engineers made, was that they were somebody was inside doing this, because this was something
they're inside the studio.
This was something that didn't really happen back then. This was not something that is like, they really had a problem with. Like, yeah, you had a large, powerful broadcasting antenna, and it's like nobody really, the resources or the technology kind of to do this was not something that you normally would be. If it were a weird, it's one of these things, they automatically assumed that there was somebody inside the studio somewhere, hijacking the broadcast and putting this on the air. So they started to search like right away, probably just like kicking open doors and being like, who the fuck's in here? But then you just had all of that kind of going on. So then I guess it all kind of swallowed down. They're like, maybe it's just like a one-off thing, just something really weird that happened. So until 2 hours later,
well, that's a weird thing, because you would after this, I'm sure that they would fucking like sweep the studio, Rob, being like, is this something else in here?
Yeah.
Because then so then their thought would be like, someone would have to have this set up in here.
Like pre-recorded and then had it patched into the transmitter or something.
Yeah.
And, that's what they figured. And so you've got the people at Channel 9, WGN TV, looking through their, combing through, scouring their studio, trying to find this person who had perpetrated this but they wouldn't find anybody. 2 hours later, on Channel 11 at 11:15 p.m., there was at that time was broadcasting a PBS affiliate, WWTW, which was Window to the World, I think is what it's like, what it stands for, was airing a Doctor Who episode. Apparently the title of the Doctor Who episode was the Horror of Fang Rock. Which is one of this is the older Doctor Who. I'm not a big Who fan, so I'm like, okay, it's cool. Some people might nerd out about that.
Dude, I didn't know about Doctor Who till probably the last 5 years, and then when I found out that it's been on for like 40 years, I was like,
yeah.
Isn't there a new Doctor Who though?
There's always a new
Doctor Who like every 4 months.
2000.
Hey, listen! Congratulations, Zell. You're the new Doctor Who. That's how many. That's how many Doctor Who's there.
I'll take it, man.
Yes, Doctor. So this studio, the interruption on this one, the broadcast, you had the same characters show up with the Max Headroom rubber mask and the or perhaps rubber mask, we don't know, and the sunglasses kind of pops in. But the difference with this interruption was that this one had audio. This one had sound.
Upgrade.
Yeah. Well, that's a weird thing, because then it's like, is this whole thing pre-recorded, or is it live from somewhere?
And the audio, I mean, you can Google it. I guess we probably don't have it. I don't know if we're going to play it. Will you insert it or no?
I can't because this could get flagged.
Okay,
Max, we'll get flagged. We'll get flagged by Max Headroom.
Well, yeah, everything gets flagged by someone's claimed Max Headroom as their own on YouTube, and you can't play nothing.
Yeah, so you can Google it. It's very easy to find. Yeah. You can watch both, but the second one is the one that is the most disconcerting of the two, and the one that is often kind of discussed about because it is more substantive. This one ran for 90 seconds. And you had the same figure, and he was.
It gives
really
this
weird
to me. It gives this vibe, like before you start reading. It gives the vibe of someone on, like, it's two guys and one guy's like, "Oh shit, you're back on. We're on. Yeah, it's live. You're live." And like that's the vibe it gives. And then someone's just like,
"Is there a phone ringing? Is that Max Headway?" Dan,
I hear it too.
Are you getting hooked? Are you getting?
I think it's an alarm going off. Hold on, like.
Dan's house is burning down right now.
Yeah.
He's got to go check.
Suddenly that green screen goes up in flames. What? He's not in the galaxy?
Dan's slowly getting carbon monoxide poisoning sitting in the basement.
No, but this one...
it was a timer.
This one, it does give me the vibe that there's someone like... It's almost like the person doesn't know... This is just the vibe I get, is that the person doesn't know how long they're going to be on, so they just start talking shit. Right?
He's like flipping off the camera.
Yeah.
And which makes it seem like it's live, which is insane.
The voice is like, it's wildly distorted. It's like high, it's like pitched real high. There's like a lot of interference in this. And so a lot of people like, they've cleaned it up a bit. And some of the things like they put in subtitles about what they're talking, and people have like, because people have dissected this for 30 some years about this. And it is.
You know what? Okay, it's a dope thing I just thought of in my head. I was like, man, what if it's not what we think? Like if this is a signal hijack, because it's like weird, it's a live thing. Imagine if it's like it's not even people from that time. It's like people like now. And it's like they figured out a way, like, or people from 2027, and they're like, man, we like frequency, we can fuck with frequencies, we can actually push a frequency back in time. And they push this is what they push back.
This one gets weird though.
Yeah, it does get weird.
This one gets fucking weird.
But what I was saying is we could in the next month when I'm down in, we could set up a green screen, because there's nothing much to this. We could film, you can buy those Max Headroom rubber masks. We could film this exact thing and then say that we pushed it back into 1980. If we film a shot for shot remake of this exactly, distort it the same, and then be like, yeah, we're pushing this back in time. Who's to say it wasn't?
We have time travel. Yeah.
It's a very random kind of like, people say like stream of consciousness, because it's just this guy sitting there, for the first like 60 some seconds or something. He's just sitting there, just saying it sounds like random phrases,
lyrics to songs and stuff.
Yeah, dude. If this was today, he'd be like, "Fuck her right in the pussy." That's what Max Headroom would have said if this happened today.
He's just like screaming nonsense at the thing, but the phrases that you can interpret from it, there's like one where he like, I mean, it's weird because they're just like endlessly interpret the things that he says, because he's like, there's one point he kind of leans like kind of forward, like out of frame, and he's like, I can still see the X, and it's like, oh, that's weird. Like, it just says some really weird, like just
starts
weird phrases.
Screaming and like moaning at one point too, and then he's like, what does he say about? What does he say? He says, he made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds, referencing WGN.
Yeah.
And the parent company.
Yeah, and I think he actually mentions someone by, was it like Chuck Swirsky or something? Like he mentions a name, someone by name, and saying like, he's a freaking nerd. Like, which I mean, yeah, if you have that time on a pirated broadcast, you're going to call it somebody and definitely call him a freaking nerd. Like, you got it. I guess. And then and then there's like another thing, I went through some, research and some like deep dives on this. And one of them was like when they say he was like humming, apparently when he was humming, people identified that tune that he was humming. And it's like, it's from a like cartoon called Clutch Cargo. Like what's the name of the cartoon? And I looked up the show and I was like, this is a weird show. It's like one of those shows that you'd probably watch and it would, like, if it came on late at night, it was kind of, for me, my comparison is like a Land of the Lost or whatever. If that comes out late at the night, like when I was a kid, that would be like, it's the weirdest show with like the flea stacks and stuff. And it like creeps you out like a little bit. But the Clutch Cargo one is actually a kind of, known for being the first one to use this type of animation called Synchrovox, which this is an interesting, stupid little fact. But like I was thinking, but Synchrovox is where they would use like photographed like animation cells, and then when the characters talked, they interposed like the video of actors' mouths moving onto the characters. So it's very like, you can look up episodes on YouTube, Clutch Cargo, and see how weird it is and see why it never really took off, because it's really weird. Like it's kind of but it is it's almost like the theme of the show is kind of like almost Johnny Quest-ish kind of, if it were just Race Bannon and Johnny and Bandit the dog, like that was just them just hanging out, like that's what it would be, I guess. That's what I get the kind of feeling from it. But yeah, it's like people who have gone really into this video have been like, no, he was humming that. So, coming to their own conclusions about looking into this.
Think it was like a subliminal message of some kind.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So people, yeah. And that's another piece of the puzzle that people have been this, but yeah. So
then it takes a sexual turn.
Yeah, then it takes a real weird turn.
Yeah.
It's not subliminal at all.
Yeah, then it takes showcase after 10 p.m. turn.
No, we're late night TV here, right? We're Red Shoe Diaries.
Oh, yeah, this is perfect timing, actually, yeah.
So and then he, so after, all of this like 60 some seconds of just all this random stuff, he, you hear this like bend over bitch. And when I was watching the video, like on YouTube, like I thought somebody had like put that in there. Like I was like, that's really weird. But no, I guess that's part of the original broadcast. And, you see this person who's in there, the suit dress person has
bare ass
out there
spanked by a fly swatter.
By a fly swatter.
Fucking proper naughty boy.
With from another person off screen. And people say it's a woman, or it looks to be a woman.
Scream bend over bitch.
Yeah, it looks to be a woman. She seems, when I watched the video, people say it's some kind of face covering. I thought she was wearing some kind of like hospital mask, looks like, maybe to cover her identity, of course, like if you're doing this. But yeah, and then people are saying maybe she's wearing some type of like French maid outfit as well, like some bit of commentary there, who knows. But yeah, she just like starts whacking him on the butt with the fly swatter for another couple seconds.
And if the broadcast would have lasted a little bit longer, a strap-on dildo was about to come out.
Yeah.
It was going to take a real wild turn.
Yeah, they're like, how far can we go?
That's kind of like an interesting question, because it's like, so you've got a dude with his bare ass, and you got, presaged by bend over bitch, and he's getting smacked on the butt. But at the beginning of the broadcast, the guy calls that dude a freaking nerd. He doesn't say fucking nerd. Right?
Freaking nerd.
He says freaking nerd. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, why don't you just go full on F-bomb?
Because you get fined by the FCC for swears.
They were religious, right?
It was an interesting choice of, I thought it was weird too. I was like, why? Like, you're on, like, you think so. Like, why not?
You just pirate radio. Like, you're in, like, you're going to get even, like, you think you're going to care at that point? You're going
to hit a frickin'?
Yeah. You're going to hit frickin' nerd. And then, so some people have also pointed that out and been like, this could be a clue as to the identity of the person, because it's like something that you would just say, it's something maybe that was just their normal.
Well, it makes me think, like, when I was, again, it did make me think that it was someone involved with TV. And so they were like, taking over the signal is one thing, but then using like a cuss word on a network, that's too far.
So bend over bitch doesn't count.
Well, I think bitch is always
acceptable.
I think bitch is on the like commonplace of words allowed on TV.
I was wondering, it was the 80s though? Like,
well, I feel like bitch, more. Especially in the 80s, was like
bitch. Yeah, was that that was the? I guess we still can't drop the F. We can drop the shit now. We can drop shit on TV.
You can drop shit on
Shit's
TV.
fine.
but-
Yeah.
You can
Ass
say
is
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but shit for a long time, like you can say that. Like that was, now it's pretty normal late after 8 o'clock.
You can drop F-bombs now because Trump did it on live TV. So it's fine.
yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what I was saying. Can I do it in the workplace like more often than I do in general conversation?
If you could follow your leader, whatever he does, you can do. So you can just fucking start dropping F-bombs left and right. Doesn't matter.
Finally,
So-
someone who talks like us.
Man of the people.
So this one ran on longer than the original, the first broadcast that popped on. You know, the engineers
Because there's
said,
no engineers on station. So by the time people realized what was going on, it was over. Like they couldn't stop it. And the only reason that videos of this were people who were taping Doctor Who got the fucking transmission.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too, because you think that the person who is then doing this knew at the time that there's no one in the tower to stop this, so this will be a perfect opportunity to run it. But like a 90-second clip, like my thing is, the interesting for me is I'm torn between, is this the video plays so much like it's just people like we're on and now we're gonna be fucked up, rather than like a pre-recorded VHS tape. Do you know what I mean? That they push, but I guess that would make more sense that they had something pre-recorded that they pushed on. But it's just so fucking weird because you would have the equipment you would have to do. You would have to be doing it from like pretty nearby with a stronger signal, which is like I feel like you would like need
the amount of wattage needed to run one of those antennas and stuff is like big. Like you can't just like plug into an outlet.
Oh yeah,
and shoot
like
an antenna at
like
the
a
fucking
cigarette,
building.
your cigarette car lighter.
You're not doing
like,
that of your 12-volt fucking card.
Like is someone doing like some sort of battery array and like in a fucking like budget like 16-foot cube van to make that happen, right? Is this some Ocean's 11 shit going on?
I'm not sure all the science on the signal intrusion, but you got to be more powerful than what you're overtaking. So, or you're on the inside.
But if you're on the inside too, like that's the thing is, if you're on the inside, the fact that there was no one in the tower,
Or was there?
or was there, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like it was there, but then you feel like you could have tracked it down to whoever was in the building. Like I'm sure there was some sort of. Well, did they even have access cards in the 80s? Probably not. It probably just fuck doors open.
not.
You probably
you had
walking
like a
off the
security
street.
guard, like
There's
maybe,
a security guard with a ring
Sleeping,
of
sleeping in a
yeah.
chair.
At
with his
11:45 p.m.
with his giant ring of keys.
Giant ring of
100%.
keys, and like maybe he had a taser.
I've seen all the 80s movies. That's the typical security guard, right? It's just sleeping in the front. Yeah.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Or you're getting shot by Hans and fucking Die Hard.
Yeah, I'm sure they had like some type of CCTV, but did they have cameras everywhere? Probably just in the lobby or public spaces, maybe, or so.
That's what they know, I guess, is that they do know it was a signal interruption. Like it wasn't something that somebody like put in a tape or something like that. Whether that
Didn't plug in.
Yeah, it didn't plug in or anything. It didn't come from the station. So the FCC was understandably worried about this. This is the first time really that they had this happen before, where somebody had maliciously hijacked a broadcast television station. And this they really got into it, where they were trying to find these people. They put out they offered rewards for any details or any information regarding the people who had did this.
Rewards and threats, like public threats of like, oh, if caught, this is $100,000 and or a year in prison. So just so you know, we're coming after you.
And I think they did manage to kind of narrow down like the general area of where it came from. I think they said that it was likely from either, like Brayden said, like it might have been out of a vehicle. It might have been in a building, but I think they said they're prime suspect because there's like an area of that had like warehouses or storage, like self-storage areas.
A bunch of flat top warehouses close by.
And they're saying that might have came from there because they, like somebody put together the background as like it looks like one of those like corrugated, like the storage container.
Oh yeah.
Like the storage garage.
So then it was live. So
doors.
then in that case, it was live, which to me then is insane because you would have to have all the equipment there, and then you're doing a teardown.
It doesn't have to be live. It could be filmed and then broadcast through a transmitter.
I guess so, but
directed.
if you're filming it, you're filming it that close. too. You know what I mean? Like that's
No,
kind
I
of
mean, it
weird.
could be already filmed,
Yeah.
and they bring VHS player and they rig that up to the transmitter and they
That'd be so
broadcast a
wild.
signal.
How could you make something so fucking weird filmed, you know? Like, I
That's
feel like
what-
it's
that's-
why. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
for me, I was like, I feel like it's more something live. It's just off the cuff. This guy's like going random stuff. But then
you
there's
don't
also
know what
like,
to do.
but then you're also like, hey, we're gonna, you know, is that so, like we're gonna do all this really random stuff at first, but what really needs to happen is I need to get spanked bare ass on TV. Like, is that part of the plan? Was that the whole plan all along?
Well,
You know,
and the other thing for me is like I looked in because I was like, dude, I was like a 2-season show warranted like fucking like a rubber mask that you could buy, and then I was like, I looked into it, and it's like Coke did that. New Coke produced those rubber masks. Like
Yeah.
they're the ones that like
I mean,
mass
it's a popular
produce.
Halloween costume.
Yeah, which is crazy because it was like it's not that well like reviewed show, and it only lasted 2 seasons.
But he was the new Coke spokesperson. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, if they produce, you wouldn't want to miss out on the producing masks, you know.
But
making
even
that money.
even like that, the fact that they Coke, like I feel like they could have just made up their own character. You know what I mean? Like it's such a weird.
it was a
when I
weird
was-
time. The 80s were a different time.
Yeah. Everyone was high. Like we
Everybody
said
was high.
before.
Everybody was
high.
on Coke. But yeah, this was one of the first cases. I guess it's one of the first cases. It's one of the more well-known cases. But it wasn't.
But not the first.
Not the first. And we can talk about that after we come back from the break.
Quick break. Be right back.
Let me tell you, brothers, about the online cannabis company that's revolutionizing how we deal with life's challenges. From sleepless nights to stress-filled days, Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blends, brother. And they've got gummies for literally everything. Immunosupport, menopause relief, PMS symptoms, mental clarity, sexual arousal. No pesticides, brother. No BS. And they ship to most states in the U.S. Best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code ALIEN. So head to Mood.com, browse their amazing selection of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you're dealing with. And remember, brothers and sisters, use that promo code ALIEN at checkout and save 20% on your first order.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 27th through July 7th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
We're back.
Correct. We'll get back to discussing more theories about Max Headroom, but I kind of want to give a little bit of context about what happened before that, actually. Like, so there was another, which probably, this one actually fits more into our wheelhouse, I feel like. When you're talking about TV signal hijackings, there was one interesting, and this one kind of goes along with the Max Headroom. If you Google up Max Headroom, this one always gets paired up with it because it is very similar. There was one called the Southern Television Alien Broadcast in the UK in 1977. So November 26th, 1977, their regional ITV station, Southern Television, apparently had their audio. So it's a little bit different because it is audio and not video, because the audio played over what was being the video that was being broadcast at the time. And the audio played over that for 6 minutes.
Nice.
Which is like a long time. And it was
Just audio, right? Because the picture was still going, but the
Exactly.
audio was overdubbed. Yeah.
And it was like a voiced audio claiming to be the Vrillon of the Ashtar Galactic Command. And it delivered this long, like scripted message, which was basically like very urging humanity to disarm its nuclear warheads, reject violence, all of the stuff that we've talked about with, all of the early 1960s, 1950s.
Yeah, why would the aliens be here? Because we got nukes, we're going to blow ourselves up, or we're a threat
you need to join the Galactic
Republic?
Brother. Yeah, dab it up, Galactic Brotherhood. what's up, you know,
Turn in the nukes.
hang out with Space Jesus.
Or we're going to blow you up.
Listen, I'm not listening to any fucking galactic commander that can't even steal both audio and visual signals. All right, come back and talk to me. I was like, you're fucking with the wrong humans if you can't hijack both those at once.
Well, maybe
There's
they're
some low
showing
effort
face.
shit right here.
Maybe they're in a different solar system, you know?
Oh,
And all
and they're
they can-
hijacking it from across the universe.
That's all they can do, right? It's a lot of
Pretty
power,
impressive.
but they can get the audio.
Yeah.
not
Well,
the
then I
video.
got a message for Vrillian. Say it to my face.
And what was it? So
That one's
then-
interesting though too, because I'm like, again, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing I never really gave much thought to like how these like broadcast channels would broadcast TV and stuff. But I'm guessing they have these shows on tapes that they would play, right? They put it in the tape,
Well,
it would play,
it was filmed.
Yeah.
You know, 2 or 3 cameras and then edited and then
and then
played back.
played back,
Unless
and
it
then
was, it
shot
could
out.
be live too. They did have live still.
Yeah.
there.
Well, I don't think this was live. Maybe it was, but I don't think it was. But then to me, I'm like, is it actually someone stealing the signal, or is it someone? I guess they would know if it was someone tampering with the tape because they just play it back and be like if someone
Well, this is
redubbed the
new, this is
audio.
news, so news is usually live, is it not?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah,
Maybe I'm guessing it was
Well,
live.
yeah. I guess it's I'm guessing it's live. Well, I mean, we do pre-recorded news here too. They recorded at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, but a lot of times you record one session and then they just then they play it back over and over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe. I don't know. But I was like, again, it's just like, I think back in the day, especially like, I don't know where this one is, but like the Chicago one's more impressive to me because I would think it's a more powerful signal. And I'm sure like, as you go back in time, the feat of taking over that signal is less and less impressive.
I think it's like, but it's not that powerful. Not that relatively, like, because it was a local channel, right? It
Yeah.
was like a local channel. Because I'm, mentioning that because there is another, well-known hijacking that was done by Captain Midnight. It's a cool name. In 1986, and this is the known as like the HBO hijacking, which I guess was the first known satellite TV hijacking. And this one occurred April 27th, 1986. So during a movie broadcast, HBO signal was then hijacked by someone who identified himself as Captain Midnight.
Captain Midnight.
Captain Midnight. And this one hijacked pretty much the whole broadcast. But it was only just a text. Like, it was only text, and it was, "Good evening, HBO from Captain Midnight. $12.95 a month? No way. Showtime / movie channel. Beware." So he was very disgruntled about the fact that they were upping their prices.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what it
I
was.
get that. Fuck that.
But this one got solved relatively quickly because they found out that this was, they reasoned out that there was only a specific set of antenna that were powerful enough to be able to hijack the signal of HBO, and they kind of narrowed it down to their suspect, which ended up being John R. McDougall, who is a satellite technician.
Fine.
So it
They're
was
like,
coming from inside the building, isn't it? Yeah. I guess he had been a former operations engineer at the Central Florida teleport uplink station.
They're like, I think it was John, because he sounded pretty pissed off about the $12.99 in the morning meeting.
What?
I'll be right back.
Hijack and signal and mumbling as he goes out. But the crazy thing is, like, because back then this was like the first known thing. He was only fined $5,000, which back then, 80s is still kind of a chunk of cash. But it's like he was only fined $5,000 because it was the first time this had ever happened. They didn't really know what to do, I guess. So it was like,
what's that in today's dollars? Like $50,000?
yeah,
Probably $500,000.
$500,000 of cocaine. I don't know. And yeah, but it's like, so the Max Headroom thing was something that was like, it was still relatively new because these are only like, a few years apart, like not even maybe like a year apart. And then, then they started upping the fines, like the influence from these events still, rings down because you had the FCC upping all their fines. You had a lot of TV networks and stuff like hardening up their broadcasts. And now it's very difficult to kind of do this stuff. You can't just like hijack a signal. It usually has to be someone inside the thing. Cause I mean, there have been other events where somebody has hijacked a signal, but it's usually they played, flipped the switch, started broadcasting porn over the Super Bowl or something. Like it's happened, but
I wanted my vacation. You didn't give it to me. This is what you get.
Happens.
Disgruntled employees, man. It all traces back to them.
But the Max Headroom one is just like it's never been solved. It's still nobody knows who did it. And
they launched that big investigation. They narrowed it down to it must have been a close proximity event. But it was kind of a victimless crime because no one was hurt, nothing was damaged. So eventually there was like, well,
all those Doctor Who fans had their fucking
the resources used already. They're like, okay, well, like we're just going to let this slide. So unsolved. So who the fuck was? Who was the perpetrator?
And it's still super disturbing because it does have that. When you watch it, it has that weird like. If you'd never seen it before and you didn't know who Max Headroom was, and you watch this thing, you'd be like, is this a snuff film? Is somebody gonna get fucking disemboweled here?
It does have that. It does have that. It does have that.
Is this some dark web shit? Like, where did you get this?
Just for a little bit longer. That's what I mean. It was going to be strap-on dildo, and then all of a sudden the hands are bound, and then he's upside down. You're like, fuck, there you go.
You shoot him in the face with a shotgun, it's some weird stuff. Like, but it is like it's almost relatively benign. It is some kind of like just kind of trickster-ish. Kind of mischievous, like it's
we can do it.
So like you would charge a person with like criminal mischief or whatever, like which is a funny charge, but like you'd be like, you
prankster, you damn kids,
shake your fist at them, you damn kids.
But the fact that it was never actually because people have been internet sleuthing this since the event, like trying to figure out who it was.
Deep dives in Reddit, trying to figure out exactly who.
And why not? And to be honest, I'm like the weird thing is I'm like. Why not come forward now? You're not getting into trouble. You know what I mean? Like 20 years after the fact, like you could have come out in the 2000s, 2010s, been like.
I think the statute of limitations is definitely run up, on something like this.
Like so, it's like, we did it. This is how we did it.
It was Dr. Hoozle.
I did it.
Right, like that would
from
be
3 years before the womb.
But like now that we're talking about like with like the advantage of AI and how crazy AI, do you think it's we're getting to a point where like right now it seems like a really difficult thing to do, but do you think it's like very quickly going to be something where it's like we might be seeing AI being able to hijack these signals in real time?
Well, I'm more worried about people like watching this and they'll be like, this wasn't real. This is AI generated. Like, no, this really happened. It's because what was it? Braden
it does look. It does play AI generated, and to be honest, dude, let's get into that. I've never witnessed one of these tapes. Like we're watching someone who has uploaded these Max Headroom things digitally.
The only people who had this footage, it wasn't this is from the network. Like these footage of the Max Headroom stuff is probably lifted from a tape of somebody who is recording Doctor Who on VHS.
And then held onto the tape for fucking 20 years. Before the internet.
Well, I mean, they probably up before then, but because it went to networks and stuff. Yeah. But that was the only evidence that they had. Like they didn't have anything from the studio. The studio wasn't recording the broadcast. It was people who were at home. Had either their VCRs on a timer or they were sitting there recording Doctor Who. And then probably news networks got a whole, got people who had footage of that, but that's what you're watching is like people, whatever. And Braden was talking about before how like nothing from the 80s exists anymore. It's like, it is difficult to find like obscure stuff now. And a lot of people, it's becoming easier for like AI to kind of spoof that stuff. I feel like, cause some people would be like, oh, this is footage from whatever. And people are like, no, this is AI generated. This never happened,
Well, and then like it did cross my mind this with the Max Headroom stuff. I was like, could this be AI just concocting this whole thing, right? Putting all the people, because it's like we're not talking like there. You go through all these. No one's talking about like, I remember this happened. Like it's all like old articles, old that you're reading online. And
Just
what we
making
know
its own
now,
pop culture.
what we know now is that anything online,
I believe nothing.
you can't trust
Nothing.
any
It
of it
is
anymore.
susceptible. Yeah.
And there's an interesting one on the topic of this, like if this is this whole AI generated thing. There's a big thing on Reddit right now, and it's about Roy J. And it's a Roy J. And they call him they're not sure. They call him the AI demon because there's a sector of people that think it's a demon trying to write its way into pop culture, and then there's a different sector of people that being like, this is seemingly like an AI trying to fit itself into pop culture in real time online. And so basically there's this actor, Roy J., who's in he's a British comedian apparently, and he appeared on like this talk show, the Bob Monkhouse Show, which is a real show, and it is super weird act, and he moves really weird, and people started to be like, who the fuck is this guy? Because he was kind of discovered, like one of his acts was discovered on YouTube, and then people were like, why does this guy why does he move like he's AI generated? And that basically started the thing of like, no one had heard of this fucking guy. So Reddit started to try to uncover who this actor was, and they eventually got a name, Roy J., and then they started looking for more information. And as they look for information,
More stuff pops up.
more stuff starts to pop off. So like a Wikipedia page just popped up, and they're like, we looked for Wikipedia, he wasn't on there. And people were like, yeah, but because it was so obscure that it's popping up because more people are looking into it.
Okay, wait.
And it's like,
is this Roy J? Is this the guy who claims from 1948 and he died in 2007? This Roy J?
I think so,
Because
yes.
if you search Roy J, now it's the Roy J phenomenon, Roy J Wikipedia, all the Roy J videos on YouTube.
Yeah, it's popping up. Dude,
He's got
there's
an
Reddit.
IMDb.
There's a Roy. So there's like Reddit. There's Reddit threads of people talking about this investigation, and so people have started to think that this is an AI trying to create this character in real time, and who's actively beating the investigation. Like as people are looking in, it's like just like making things as it has to keep this up.
Or like
And,
someone searches for Roy J on Wikipedia and the
and then
AI
it's like
listening.
it's like oh,
quickly type
needs
one.
now needs Wikipedia.
Fucking don't doubt it,
So
man.
there's Reddit page of these threads of people being like, if there's so many Reddit threads, and one of the reasons is Reddit threads. If you go down a couple, they'll think that this AI has infiltrated the Reddit thread. Because people all of a sudden they'll be like, no one knows who this guy, and then you'll get like someone who writes, I remember him well. He came from a long line of British comedians who adopted eccentric personality mixed with some catchphrases as a way of telling fairly routine jokes. His kind of cool act, persona, makeup, and costumes were innovative, and he often broke character to contrast it with more traditional northern style of comedy. And people were like, are you AI? And then the person who wrote that has no posts. And they're like, someone will be like, that guy has no posts. And then all of a sudden this guy is just like floods with like just weird generic posts from everywhere. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? But is that something that we should be worried about moving forward? That like anything online has the ability to be manipulated in real time by like an
it's
advanced
always been
AI.
like that. That's the thing. It's like, and this is a worry of a lot of like researchers and stuff where it is a problem. Like internet stuff has always been susceptible to, by interference or, manipulation, because it's back when I was, back in school when it was like when Wikipedia was new, your teachers were like, don't use Wikipedia as a thing because it can be changed by people or whatever, and then you learn you can just cite the sources at the bottom because that's the sources. But it's kind of that thing where it is becoming more and more difficult, and you have to become more and more diligent about the stuff that you're looking at. I know I've gotten caught a couple times with like stuff like pops up and you've been like, what was it? The Pope hammer thing. There's like this fact that was being circulated around. There's a ceremonial hammer that the Vatican uses that when the Pope dies, they hit him on the head to make sure they're really dead. And I was like, oh, that's not something they would do in the Middle Ages and just survive the thing. And then I was like, wait, no, and then I looked it up like for real and they're like, no, it's fake. And I was like, oh my fucking God.
Listen,
they got me.
I think of a business that's about to come back. Huge, and mark my word, another 10 years,
market
booming market.
Is this when we're back to classic AT? When we rebanned as classic AT?
No, this is back. This is when we move from fucking ATT completely.
Oh,
we
do
got to
we
get
become
back
ATT
into
zero? Do we become ATT zero?
ATT encyclopedias. We go door to door selling encyclopedias, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't trust the information anymore. So
No,
we got to go back.
unless it's on paper.
Unless it's on paper, you just cannot be fucking trusted. Because
Yeah, and half the entries are ipsum lorem dictatum, whatever.
But because realistically, like say like fucking Russia wanted, they're like, you know what, let's fuck with English speakers and we're gonna just have our little, what's their little tower of misinformation there?
It's rebranded, but yeah, the Internet Research Agency used to be.
IRA. And they're just going to be like, let's just have like constantly like have our AIs just going in and just fucking manipulating their information nonstop.
Because
all
people,
the time,
I mean,
changing history.
Yeah, it is wild. It's wild to think of like that could happen, and it's not like cases of that have. What was it like where people get? We had this like the internet has just made people into like obsessive weirdos sometimes. Where it's like they had that one where it was like, what was it, the Celebrity 47 or Celebrity whatever? You guys remember that one where everybody was looking for that one person who was like they were on some kind of print. And like they're like, who is this person? Yes. And there was this huge thing for like months.
All the famous actors and actresses.
Yeah,
and then there was one person, and people were like, who the fuck is that?
And it ended up being like it had just been somebody had gotten a random print of a model from like an obscure like photo shoot like in the 80s, you know, and they had gotten that, and they, you know, the model actually came forward. She said, yeah, that was me. And then we did a photo shoot, just never got published, and somebody must have got that photo, which is like, that's the hard thing about like hard media now is like, yeah, when you go back far enough, it's hard to find some of this stuff, and people will be like, you can pull up some old photos or stuff like that, and you'd be like, hey, these are photos from, you know, way back then in the 60s, and these are new photos from Woodstock, and people are gonna be like, oh, those are AI generated. You know, it's AI generated.
Dude, it is getting so good.
It's out of control.
It's already at a level right now where there's some of it where you're like, I don't like there's some of the best AI I've seen is this weekend. I actually had to go look it up. There was a UFC fight, and people were like posting on Twitter. They're like, I cannot believe Charles Oliveira did that to Ilya Tapora in the weigh-ins. And they walk up for the face-to-face, and then Charles Oliveira just lifts him up because he's smaller. And I was like, there's no fucking way he did that. And then people are like, if you look close in the back, like the AI fucked up the letters. And then I saw the real one. But I was like, this is so like so it's unbelievable. I looked and went, there's no fucking. He just lifted him like a child in the weigh-in. I was like, that's insane,
dude. We're only a couple years in.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the Will Smith eating spaghetti thing is like,
well, that's the litmus test.
And they go but seeing it from the first one and then seeing the one that's now, and it's only like a couple of years apart, and you're like, holy shit.
Have you ever 2 more years and everything could be generated? You're not going to know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, I heard it was I came across YouTube and it popped in my thing. It was like a. It was like they have the songs written by AI, and there was one that was written by AI, and it was like somebody put the AI prompt. It was like a country song about big booty Latinas, and it was hilarious. Like I listened to it, I was like, this is actually pretty funny. It's like, it's real messed up.
We're moving quickly to an era of post-human entertainment.
Which is crazy because that's not this shit was supposed to free us to be able to do that stuff.
And it's wild because some of the stuff is funny. Like they were saying that's the what is it, the AI that Google runs. I think I mentioned this before, but it's like the AI that Google runs. They said that it's getting no, it's a different one. Like their video AI, they have a different one, I think. They said that it's getting really good at producing those weird like interview. Like those like street interview videos, like that are all over TikTok. And it's getting really good at doing those.
What could you buy with your body count?
Right.
Yeah.
But there was one that was really there was one that I was like, okay, that's stupid because I hate those ones anyways. But yeah. But there was one where it was like interviewing people in the 16th century, and it was like walking up to people and be like, you know, what's your deal? He's like, you know, what's your biggest problem? And he's like, rats. There's so many rats. So many rats or whatever, you know. And there's just like, well, it's like interviewing like a 16th century like headsman, like an executioner. He's like, yo, just always trying to get ahead. It's really dumb. But I was like, these are pretty funny though.
Because like if you're thinking like people might be thinking like, well, like the Max Headroom and stuff, like that's the story's been around for a while. Right, like on the internet, for a while. I'm saying, like, the story originates.
Well, the event was on Unsolved Mysteries. It's people have known about it forever. Yeah, like.
But my interesting thing is the stories like that, and even dude, you know how hard, first off, I'm not even convinced Bobby Stax is real anymore. You see those outfits, right? I mean, are we 100% sure that was live recording? Because those outfits are so fly. I don't even believe that might be real. But it's because we think now it's like, oh, well, yeah, but AI is like, we're seeing AI now. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing these companies use this stuff, but it's like, has there also been like a military AI that's been developed longer?
Yeah.
Right? That they've been they're like yeah, we've been using this.
Military is always 20 years ahead, if not more, right?
So, well, the interesting thing with that theory to me is now is like, especially as we like this day and age, I'm like, the fucking money some of these companies have like rivals military budgets. Like, you know what I mean? So
small
it's like
nation states,
so it's, right? So it's like I think that was the case. But I think now as these big companies are moving into development, they just have far more fucking money to push into these things, into different avenues than the military would be able to go. But maybe that's still the case. It's an interesting thing. When we're looking at these stories, I start to go like, are any of these real? I honestly, I can't, anything we read.
This was the start of the Mandela effect, was all AI.
Dude, it could be, because it could be all manipulated online, right? Like it's...
Yeah. Well, it's always like, I'm sure, like, it's not going to be hard to generate an AI video. It'd be like, generate an AI creepy pasta video from a old kids TV show. Because you get all those creepy pastas like, does anybody remember that TV show when you were a kid and had like the glowing eyes? And like people, they just make up stuff. It's like creepy. The AI could easily manipulate that and just be like, make it up. And I could see what
make up a kid show, make a fake website,
make a fake, do all that stuff if you really want to do it. Of course, people could do that too, but you have to be a real dedicated, prankster person. Yeah.
Right. If AI gets powerful enough, you could prompt AI, like, make me a fictional backstory for a comedian who was born in the 40s and he died in 2007. Create all web pages. Make sure no one can find a web page that doesn't exist. And it's just like,
it just creates backside, and you would have to insert him into shows,
and you could
have
figure
clips
it out.
Of shows.
Like you could figure it out, but it would just take a lot longer. If people just go in the surface level stuff, but if you're like, all these, this website came from the same IP, like blah, blah, blah. Like if you really drill down into it, you can figure it out. But it's like, but for most people, like it's enough to be like,
dude, there's soon it's going to be like, it's going to like. Again, yes, you're going to be like, we could figure this stuff out, but we're so soon away from it being able to be like, it being like 5 moves ahead of us on the chessboard, being like, we're just going to change all of that.
Dude, it's going to be
in real time.
So good, and I'm ready for it, and I'm ready to turn the studio back into a wood shop because it's coming where you can record anything on your phone, upload it to AI, choose the sound and microphone you want and what studio you recorded it, and it'll make your voice, like if you record on your phone, make it sound like you recorded in the best studio in the world. And it's coming. It's 2 years away tops.
Yeah, it'll be a wood shop until the robots show up.
And then they take over the saws, and then the robot saw comes alive and it transforms.
One day you're out there sawing.
Yeah, I mean, and the craziest, I'm surprised there's not more of these. Because like modern signal intrusion is like the DDoS attacks, right? Like anonymous, taking like crashing Church of Scientology and all these religious places, and then like broadcasting through their platform because they've taken it over and like we're anonymous, blah blah blah. Like, I'm surprised there's not more of that because now everything's connected, so you don't need a giant microwave dish.
Firewalls and stuff. You have stuff.
I know, but and it's gotten better. But there was a time there where hackers were well ahead of a lot of.
Well, they are getting crazy. What is it? I think the Cloudflare, one of the bigger web security places, said that the attacks are getting bigger. Like they said, I think they had their largest DDoS attack like ever before. Like somebody
Yeah, like millions of people at once,
like billions of, like it was like millions of terabytes of information that
flooding.
the data that they flooded onto, like towards, they directed at like one or a couple IPs or whatever. And it was like, they're like, yeah, this is the largest thing we've ever seen, which is wild. Cause it was like, they're like, there's nothing even close to this right now. Like, like the other DDoS and, comparable data things are like, they're like way lower, half this. And like, this is wild.
And then the next step. So this is all with modern computing, all of our
we have now.
What's the next? Like everyone says quantum computing, and it's probably nowhere close. But eventually, say we get this new fucking computer that's one computer is more powerful than 10 million regular computers.
I bet we still play GTA 5 on it.
GTA 6 won't be out yet. Still, that's what I mean. You're gonna have these computers that are potentially so far ahead of what we have. And then you combine that with an AI, and AI is based on the technology. So if you have AI that is now learning off a quantum chip or something, it's over. Like that's artificial super intelligence.
Give me the Minority Report, Jarvis. Give me it.
Everything. It can do every calculation we've ever done off
better.
one computer in 1 second.
Just make me even stronger. Just tools.
And that's when the Matrix crashes and it's restart again, and it's 1999.
We're all in the pink goo. We're all in the pink goo.
Yeah. Anyways, it's fucking crazy. It's crazy that no one ever actually got caught or came forward or anything with the Max Headroom.
Is it even a real story?
Like, dude, how did nobody identify this guy but from his bare ass? How did nobody?
Dude, we're listening. Like
I recognize that freckle.
We're like the proof that we have of this story is by a fucking cassette VHS that someone's uploaded. I was like, we have just as much proof of fucking Sinbad's Shazam, right, as we do of Max Headroom. To be honest, like it's the same.
That's a real movie, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I guess would this guy be like a cryptid? Because this is basically all the evidence that we have, like of Bigfoot, like the video of Bigfoot, like the.
I'm watching Bigfoot vlogging right now. He's doing mushrooms with aliens and shit. He's fucking. He's having a good time.
Yeah, dude, it's getting wild. But yeah, interesting. Let us know your thoughts. Where are we going with all this fucking AI shit?
Are we even real? Is this podcast even real anymore?
Yeah,
dude. How can we believe a UFO case file that pops up for us that we go, we've never heard of this one? Like, how do we, you know what I mean? Like,
that's how we get more content. We ask the AI to generate stories that are believable and populate.
I wish that was the case, because when I think I tried to do that one time just to see what it would do, and it's always like terrible. It's always there.
It's not there
right now. Not right now.
Right now.
It's not there yet.
Because it's all very.
We're another year away from a flood of more content, baby.
But you know what? It's probably because we have so much experience with some of these. Because all of the AI stuff when it's generated, it's all very derivative, and it's all like just the same stuff, like kind of they just move the information around, and I'm like, oh no, I've just read so many that you're like, no,
you could do such a good fucking prompt, dude. You could make a case for me that most of the UFO case files you read on the line are fucking AI prompts. Because like, please insert XYZ, gets abducted by an alien. It doesn't see much.
Well, I know Villalobos isn't AI generated. His dude gets slathered up in sex jelly.
Yeah,
that's
cool
definitely not AI generated.
That's a good one.
Right. The only hope for the AI, I think, I've read this theory, and maybe it'll come true, maybe it will not. They call it model collapse, where AI now has generated all the content. It's not right. There's no humans generating content, so it keeps generating content over itself, and it starts degrading, and then the model actually collapses.
Yeah.
And they got to restart.
Ouroboros, a snake eats its own tail, just like blah, 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 just garbage. Yeah.
I'm sure that won't happen, but that's like there's like, well, it's going to use so much AI content that it's just going to model's going to collapse and nothing will be reliable anymore. Or it'll just make the best shit ever.
It'll start being like humans like this, and then it notices the mistakes and makes more of the same, and then just slowly you just get this slippery slope of it liking its own stuff.
It gets
how much, dude. Yeah, dude, the amount of AI content right now online is insane. It's like I imagine the traffic for it is I bet it outnumbers human.
Dude, we talked about the dead internet theory, where it was like maybe 50 or 80% of the internet is just bots and it's dead. Yeah, and now 80% of the content is also that being liked and commented on also by bots. Is this more dead?
Yeah.
There's no one humans alive anymore on the internet. Maybe this will go back. Like everyone will like unplug. We'll start listening to vinyl again and reading real books, printed books. Who knows? But
yeah, you could make a case for me that Stephen King's been allowed to use some sort of AI because that guy writes a shitty book every fucking 3 months.
well, he uses a new alias all the time. That's his AI.
His hits are he's got some good ones. But
Yeah,
in
but I'm
between
saying,
that,
he
he's got
writes so
some
many books. All of them can't be winners. You know, you write so many books. You're so
But the best batters are what, 350, 375.
You don't hit them all. Not all home runs. If you write so many, you're gonna be like, oh, people, he has shitty books. I'm like, yeah, he's a lot of shitty books. There's a lot of good books too.
Anyways,
all right, we got any Patreons? We got any Patreon supporters?
I'm gonna save them for next week.
Yeah,
Save them up.
All right. And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
Peace.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 7/9 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Maximum initial battery voltage measured without a workload is 20 volts. Nominal voltage is 18.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.